Hi there, this is Jimmy Roberts. You know, when it comes to the game of golf, there is no place on earth like the metropolitan area. It's always been a special place for the game of golf and also for golf writing. Some of the most esteemed and accomplished journalists covering the game work here. Now, you'll get a chance to hear them right here on the Metropolitan Golf Writers Association podcast. Enjoy.
All right, welcome to the program, guys. We are here at historic Baltusrol Golf Club. And when I say historic, I don't use that lightly because Baltusrol is only one of four that actually has a historical landmark designation. So when we use the word historic, we mean the word historic. And I'm pleased to be joined by the Director of Grounds at Baltusrol Country Golf Club, Greg Boring. Greg, thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure to be here. Welcome.
Before we get into the different golf courses and everything that you've done here, I was just kind of curious if you could walk us through your journey into turf management and how you came to be at Baltusrol.
Yeah, my journey got an early start. I was one of those that was blessed at a very young age to know what he wanted to do the rest of his life. So at 13, 14 years old, I started working at a golf course, the Pete Dye Golf Club in Bridgeport, West Virginia. It was still under construction at that point in time, and grew up there, grew up around the game of golf, really fell in love with it at an early age. From Pete Dye, I had a great mentor there. He pursued, really pushed me to go into a turf program, and ended up going to the Ohio State University. Great years there. During there, I did my internship at Oakmont Country Club. Obviously just hosted the U.S. Open, 1997-98, little different golf course then, had a lot of trees. So after graduation, I actually went to Florida. I was in Florida for the first 3.5 years at Johns Island Club in Vero Beach.
Sure.
And, after my first son was born, 3.5 years into it, my wife didn't want any part of being 14 hours away from family. So,
Sure.
So we ended up in northern New Jersey, our first stint. I was an assistant superintendent at Preakness Hills Country Club, working for a fantastic superintendent, John O'Keefe. Worked for John for a couple summers, then found my way up into northeast Pennsylvania. Glen Oak Country Club, a small private club just north of Scranton. And from there, 3 years later, 11 great years at the Country Club of Scranton, which is just an absolute hidden gem.
Sure.
It's not so much hidden anymore.
No, definitely not.
I think the word is out, and just tremendous time transforming that golf course. It is an absolute Walter Travis just gem there. My last 3 years at Scranton, I served as the director of clubhouse and grounds operations.
Right,
so I was actually the acting GM and the superintendent. And
wearing a lot of hats there.
A lot of hats. Wasn't something that I, didn't see my career going down that way, that path, but it worked.
Yep.
It was kind of home for my kids. It's the only home they ever knew. But I got a phone call in September of 2018, and someone asked me if I would be interested in Baltusrol, and that's just a call that you've got to have. You've got to have that conversation. Have that conversation. Honestly, I didn't think they would hire someone from Scranton, to be quite honest. But but 7 years later, here I am, and it's been absolutely fantastic.
It's unbelievable. I want to just go back to your youth a little bit. Just like, what was there a defining moment? I mean, it's not very often that kids know exactly what they want to do. What was was it a person? Was it what was the defining moment that made that decision easy for you?
So it's funny, my family grew up, at a small little country club. We played golf at. My grandfather, it was one of those things where $1,000, family membership.
Right.
They had quick coupler irrigation around the greens, and then when I was in about 7th grade, I think it was, and I was playing golf there pretty much all summer. I'd go to the pool, I'd play golf, and they started putting in an irrigation system, and a single row irrigation system. And believe it or not, I was absolutely mesmerized with what they were doing out there. Now, this place, they didn't have anybody who knew what they were doing. So they
Right.
killed the greens as soon as they, they just overwatered them at that point in time. They had this new toy, they were trying to use it.
Right. And
So
they just figured more water would be
more was better.
Right. Exactly.
So they killed the greens the first year. They got the automated irrigation system up and running. But it was something that just truly interested me. And then obviously I was lucky enough to have a world-renowned golf course being built 5-10 minutes from where I grew up.
Sure.
Stepping on the Pete Dye Club for the first time, I thought I'd never seen anything like it.
Right.
Really introduced me to what I call premier Major League golf, and it's still someplace that holds very dear to me.
Sure.
To this day. I don't get back there very often, but I still have a lot of family there. But it's someplace that I love getting to when I can. But unfortunately, I don't get back very often this time.
Sure. But that was obviously a very pivotal experience for you, during this formative time of your career. That must have been super helpful in terms of developing into the person and the type of manager you are, the type of supervisor you are. Talk a little bit about that mentorship at Pete Dye.
Yeah, it was. That's where I first learned. I think the first summer I was, we were still under construction, so I was picking rocks and laying sod. Probably working more hours than I should have at my age, but I truly enjoyed it. And then from there, mowing greens, doing course setup, and by the time I was a senior in high school, I was 18 years old. I was spraying pesticides, spraying fertilizer.
That's amazing.
At the time, the #1 golf course in the state of West Virginia, and it really helped shape where I am. And believe it or not, I had a conversation when probably my junior year of high school with my high school guidance counselor, and she's like, what's your plans? And I was a fairly successful student, and I said, well, I want to be a golf course superintendent, and believe it or not,
And they probably didn't even know what they were
well,
you were talking about.
They really didn't.
No,
and
of course.
she says, do you expect to make a good living doing that? And I said, well, once I leave the state of West Virginia, yeah, probably so. But luckily now there's several
very good
great
programs.
Facilities
Yeah.
in West Virginia, and the game of golf has just been very, very good to me.
Sure.
And I cherish every moment of it.
So you went from basically frying pan to the fire, and sometimes that's the best way to learn, like picking rocks and doing all that, sort of grunt work and sort of literally from the ground up. You got in there.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the best way to do it sometimes.
I've done it all, and
Yeah.
Started at the very bottom and just kind of work your way up and seen a lot of things. I've seen Bermuda grass, I've seen Poa annua, I've seen bent grass, old irrigation, new irrigation, and which ultimately prepared me for where we are today.
Yeah. And when you say you get this call from Baltusrol, and you said obviously you have to answer it. I'm just curious what you believed in yourself that said, I'm gonna answer that call, that you felt that you were up to the task.
Well, it was always a dream of mine and goal of mine to do this at the highest level, to be at a club that hosts major championships. And to be quite honest with you, I had kind of maybe given up a little bit on that dream when I was at Scranton. I had a couple opportunities of leaving there, but just things weren't the right fit. Club was extremely good to me to this day. I get up there, they gave me an honorary membership when I left the club.
Right.
Really it was difficult, but deep down it's something I still wanted to do. I was able to play that role as general manager, but my heart really wasn't in it.
Sure.
I really just wanted to be on the golf course.
Yeah.
This gave me the best of both worlds to be
Yeah.
on the golf course. I just thought once if they listened to me and gave me an opportunity to go through the interview process, I could win them over. And there were 8 applicants who got initial interviews. The interview itself went extremely well with the search committee. We just clicked. It was a great fit. I think I fit the culture here more than anything else. At that point in time, they have people that can grow grass. It's just a matter of what's the best fit for the leadership and for the culture of the club. And in 7 years, it's been outstanding.
It's unbelievable. It's great. I mean, and you step in, you answer that call, and then and we'll get to it, but it's not like you had an easy transition. I mean, you go from being superintendent / GM to managing, like I said, a historical golf course that it's about to undergo 2 renovations, and that's wild.
We really stepped into it here. I think I started mid-January of 2019. Gil had been hired at that time, and Gil had been hired. The master plan committee was meeting on a regular basis. The master plan on the lower was completed. We were still working on the master plan of the upper, but we didn't have a contractor. We didn't know what the scope of work was going to be. We didn't have an irrigation design. We didn't have an irrigation contractor. And we were 8-9 months from putting a shovel in the ground.
Wow.
This day and age, that doesn't happen.
That
doesn't happen. But this was only 6-7 years ago. And, basically before I even started, I'd reached out to some contacts in the business, was able to hire an irrigation consultant, got a plan together by the end of January. We were to bid in within 2 months. I mean, it really, snowballed really quick.
Sure.
And we started putting, main lines in the ground in October of 2019. Shut the golf course down in November of 2019. In the meantime, we had a clubhouse fire in July of 2019.
Yes.
Really wasn't counting on that.
Nope.
And so it was just one thing after another, and the project went. And by the way, we started really ramping things up in March of 2020. And we all know what happened then. So
boom. So you go from fire to a pandemic.
So fire, pandemic. We thought we were getting shut down. There were times we had lights out in the middle of the 3rd green because we thought the state of New Jersey was going to get shut down. We thought all work was going to cease. We had to get that sod on the ground, but we kept going, and we had about 100 contractors on property. That 2020, and Gil, the good thing was Gil was kind of stuck here because he couldn't really travel.
Right. Well, that is a good thing,
so
right?
Although
he's very hands-on anyway. But
he's very hands-on.
Right.
He was working at the time between here and Oakland Hills and Frisco.
Right.
So he started driving back and forth to Oakland Hills, but Frisco was kind of on hold at that point in time because the world had pretty much shut down.
Right.
But we worked every day, and we were able to get it done, and it was a learning experience for me and my team, and it just prepared us for the upper.
Yeah, and sort of and the nice thing about having Gil do both is there's a certain sense of continuity. So I wanted to ask you what you mentioned lessons. What were some of the lessons learned on the upper when you started that sort of helped you with the lower?
Well, this process was probably the complicated part of it is we weren't switching out grasses, we weren't killing everything and regrowing from scratch. So, we had to keep an old irrigation system alive, functioning and working properly to keep the existing grass irrigated while everything new came on board. That just took an unbelievable amount of planning. The infrastructure upgrade for the precision air units, we had to bring a lot of 3-phase 480 power into this property to run all these units, to run all the fans that we have out here. So it was a lot more than just shaping bunkers and shaping greens.
Sure.
As far as the scale and the scope, everything was pretty much identical from the lower to the upper.
Right.
We had the same contractor. We did have a different irrigation contractor, but we had the same golf course contractor with pretty much the same crew. So there was a lot of continuity. My superintendent, construction superintendent, and golf course superintendent were the same from the lower to the upper. They've both since moved on, but having all those pieces in place just made the upper that much smoother, and it showed. It
Sure.
really did. We had very few issues. Everything was firing on full cylinders. And,
Right.
And it worked out really well.
How was it to collaborate with Gil?
I tell everybody, and I've been through several projects with different architects, and this was really the first architect that I've worked with that was really hands-on. Really did a lot of his own shaping, so I didn't know really what to expect with that. And Gil's happiest when he's on a piece of equipment.
Yep.
And as long
Listening
as
to the Grateful Dead,
I can keep everything at bay and keep him just happy as can be on a piece of equipment,
Yep.
things work extremely well. And I think the leadership of this club, my hat's off to them. They really said it was an architect-led project, and it truly was. And they were very involved on both. The lower was kind of, we were blowing up the lower golf course. They didn't know what to expect.
Right. Right.
We didn't know what to expect.
Sure.
When it came to the upper, it was kind of like, these guys know what they're doing.
Just let them go.
We'll let them go. It was a little different, but I think when you have something in the hands of Gil, who is just an unbelievable talent, unbelievably humble person, it's just an absolute privilege to work with.
Was there any, do you feel like you know a little bit more about golf course architecture? Like, what were some of the things that you, let's say, didn't know? Obviously, you've worked with him before, but anything that Gil sort of really, you look back and you're like, oh, wow.
It's truly an art.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something, I'm sure it's something you can teach, but artists, I know they're taught, but I think they're born more than anything.
Right, sure.
I feel sorry for my children. Their entire life, they came home with an art project, and I'm just like,
exactly.
Sorry, kids.
Yeah, exactly. You want to build a volcano? I'm in.
Go see the neighbor who's very art driven, but
right.
But your mother and I are just not it.
Yeah.
I was very
technical,
analytical. Just science, mathematics, but it truly is. It's a form of art, and I know it's something you can teach and you can get better at. But I also think when you're that good, it's something you're born with.
Yeah, 100%. Is there a piece of the property or a design element or that you think is maybe doesn't get as much, or maybe gets overlooked by regular, that people are playing and they're not really paying attention? This is such a complex property, and it's got a lot going on. If you pay attention, it's got even more going on. I'm curious if there's any certain aspects of the property that you think people sort of maybe don't appreciate, or it goes sort of under the radar, so to speak.
Well, I think we've got several. There's very distinct two different golf courses.
Yeah.
The lower golf course is just from tee to green. It is just there's a lot going on.
Sure.
There's a lot of trouble out there. There's a lot of bunkers.
Yep.
There's some creeks.
Yep.
So there's some difficulty out there. Where those greens are a little bit more benign, but very subtle.
Yes.
And they're very difficult to read.
Yes.
Which we saw that in 2023 with the KPMG, Women's PGA. That was something that they struggled with. But on the upper, you come up to the upper golf course, it's a little bit more forgiving off the tee. You definitely have the topography, but man, those greens will just, there's a lot going on.
There really were. I mean, I was, like you said, I mean, today's was much more, I noticed was much more subtle. Like even having a memory from the upper, you tend to overread the lower, is that was the pickle I found myself in today a little bit. And I think that's because I had that memory of how much movement from the upper.
Agreed. And when you look at the upper greens, I mean, you know which way it's moving.
100%.
Down there, you might think it's moving left and it turns right.
Yep.
And you look at it and
Or you think it's going to move and it's dead straight.
dead straight.
Dead straight.
But that's the perplexing part of the greens on the lower, and
Yep.
and especially when when we're able to control Mother Nature a little bit, which has not been the case this year, and we can get them as firm as we like to get them, especially for events and championships and things like that, they can be very tricky.
How much, just before we get off the green complexes, how much does that have to do with the uppers movement having to do with the mountain versus what you said, the more subtle green complexes on the lower, because that was basically a flat area that he kind of just pushed up or raised up, or how much does it have to do with the mountain?
Well, I think the mountain, especially in the first 6 holes, plays a huge aspect to the golf course, and you have that slope coming off the mountain, and the way the greens are, they're definitely pushed up and pushed to the side, but that mountain has a huge influence. Everything's really breaking hard from right to left,
sure,
especially on the first 6 holes. But
yeah.
even that, when you get into 8, you get into 9, you get into 10, there's no let up out there.
No.
Even once you get away from the mountain, there's a lot of movement on those green complexes, and we don't keep the upper greens as fast as we can keep the lower normally.
No, that wouldn't work.
Definitely for championships, but we have to be real careful out there, especially in the upper. But the beauty is post-restoration, we have so many more hole locations, and Gil was basically able to keep the original intent of the greens, but just kind of lay the slopes down a little bit to where we have couplable hole locations with greens rolling 12 and a half, and
sure,
when we get above 13 up there, they tend to get a little
crazy.
Little crazy.
Yeah.
Down low we can go. We
you
can
probably
go pretty
fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
What the technology? How much did you recapture? First of all, like I feel like when there are restorations, it seems like the minimum was like 20%. Was it more here that you recaptured?
So the upper was somewhere around 34%.
Yeah, that's a lot, right?
That's a lot. The lower was about 25%. The upper or the lower greens are bigger.
Right.
I think they average somewhere around 8,300 square feet.
Okay.
The upper greens are somewhere around 7,800 square feet, but on average, very, very large putting surfaces.
Sure.
So we were able to recapture mostly in the corners, really help building those squared off corners back into, taking away some of the buildup of bunker sand that had accumulated over time, top dressing sand, things like that, and just kind of rolling those slopes back and exposing some hole locations on some certain points of the green that they haven't seen here for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So the members are really enjoying it. Luckily, we have a software system that puts the hole locations where they are on a daily basis. So when they come, have a few want to talk to me about hole locations, I can plead complete
ignorance,
IT ignorance, and say, hey, that's the software.
Talk to the computer.
Yes.
Well, speaking of computers, how much you're a long way from West Virginia. How much has technology changed, in your time as a superintendent?
Oh.
And what's the technology you're most excited about now?
So how much has technology changed? I mean,
this is far from going from vinyl to digital music, right?
It's really night and day as far as the irrigation technology. I mean, drainage technology. But believe it or not, a lot of the grasses are still the same. I mean,
right.
We chose, and it was a controversial decision. Some people still think I'm crazy, but we chose to put this 100-year-old Poa annua back on the greens. There's certain times of the year where, it's going to struggle, and this is about those times.
Of the year.
But come 2 weeks from now, we get into mid-August through October. Good luck finding a better surface than these perennial Poas.
Sure.
And so a lot of that technology is still the same, but what we have now is we know how to manage it, and that's the main thing.
Right.
Is, we manage seed heads in the spring. We manage moisture in the summer. Now we can control, how much air is going into these greens, how much moisture is being sucked out of them. We're very fortunate. We have the resources that we can do these things, but but ultimately Mother Nature is in charge.
Sure. Sure.
We can put all the technology in the world here to help us manipulate Mother Nature.
Yeah.
But you get a year like 2025.
Yeah.
You're still going to struggle with thin conditions. You're still going to struggle with some firmness. As wet as we've been, we're very fortunate. Things do drain down fairly well, but I'm still here and here. Well, the greens aren't very firm, but when we still get the large rain events, it takes some time. But
and when you go from rain events to a week of 100-degree weather,
correct.
I mean that's not a great combination. So you have to just kind of hold on to your seat for a little bit.
It's the worst combination we can have. I mean, we can deal with heat and we can deal with wet conditions. But when you have both of them,
no,
that's the worst combination.
Yeah, because there's no recovery. Like what most people, I mean, and I know enough to be dangerous, but we know that the grass needs some time of recovery, and which typically would happen at night when the temperature cools down. But if you have 90% humidity at night and 90-degree weather at 10 o'clock at night, that's no bueno. Like that's bad.
I've seen more low 80-degree nighttime temperatures this year than I have probably in my career.
Right.
And,
exactly.
When you're going to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and it's still upper 80s. You're going to show up and that grass is not going to be happy. I don't care what kind of technology you have.
Right, and there's nothing you can do to, there's no steroid that you could give it.
Correct.
Right, it's just hurting.
It's a living plant, and it's called cool season grass for a reason.
Exactly. What do you see, given all that you've seen to this point in your career, how do you see your job as director of grounds evolving over time?
One of the things that I'm really excited about coming forward, and I think there's a few superintendents even starting to dabble a little bit, is I think artificial intelligence is going to touch every single aspect of every career, and I think it's going to touch ours as well.
Right.
I envision water's going to be our biggest challenge going forward.
Right.
I think especially we don't have the issues that the West they do out west.
Sure. But it's still not an unlimited
resource. It's still
resource.
going to be an issue going forward. Yeah. It's one of the reasons we put the turf type tall fescue in the rough out here. It requires 50% less water as Kentucky bluegrass. It requires less chemicals, less fertilizer. It doesn't thin out that much in the summer. We've had one of the worst summers that I, in reference that we've talked about, and here we are at the end of July, and if you hit it in the rough, trust me, you know it.
Oh yeah.
It's penal, and it doesn't thin out like some of the other grasses. Technology has gotten better, but I think artificial intelligence someday is going to really allow us to pinpoint. We're already seeing drones flying in the air to find out wet spots, dry spots, to really allow us to pinpoint water.
So you almost imagine, to your point with AI, a central hub that is now controlling your inputs.
Correct.
Right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah,
essentially?
I think eventually what's going to happen is, and to a point it's already still being done, it's kind of more of a manual, but I think it's going to be, whether it be flying a drone or flying, that data is going to be inputted into an irrigation system, and it's only going to run those spots.
Right.
Thus reducing our water output, a huge amount, and that's an initiative of the USGA, something that they have going on. And it's something that we take very serious here at Baltusrol. We don't put a lot of water out, especially on low-cut turf, our playing surfaces. Only usually when we're watering in a fertilizer or a product. So we try and manage the water the best we can.
Yeah, I mean, and the fairways are firm. I mean, everything is tight, and obviously it's in premium, condition.
Just like that golf course back in West Virginia, too much water is a bad thing.
It is. It's too much water is a bad thing. It's right. More is not better.
Correct.
What would you be doing? I'm just kind of curious. If you were not a superintendent, which is something that you knew at a very early age, as you spoke of, but what would you be doing if you were not a superintendent?
So, been asked this question before. I've thought about it. I am a person who is absolutely kind of infatuated with history, government.
History teacher?
Not a history teacher. I'd probably, I'd definitely be working with the government some point in time, but
Okay.
maybe even CIA or probably not law enforcement, but some side of
Intelligence.
intelligence.
Yeah.
That part of that world. Just I watch a lot of movies, watch a lot of documentaries.
Sure.
I don't have a lot of time to read. Maybe some in the car with my 40-minute commute every day.
Right.
But that's just part of something that I find very interesting. Bores my wife and kids to death, but it's something that I've always found intriguing. And,
Sure.
and to me, I had a single parent who grew up in retail, and,
Right.
and it's one of the hardest working people that I've ever seen in my life. She taught me the work ethic that's needed for this job, but she absolutely hated it.
Right.
And I knew that I was going to find something that I loved, and if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. And
100%.
trust me, there's some challenges being the director of grounds at Baltusrol.
Sure.
But when I walk this golf course every morning, or if I'm out here late in the evening, it's the good days completely outweigh the bad.
100%. I had you, haven't gotten to know you and talk to you. I was thinking, and when you said history, I was thinking teacher, coach. Like I see, coaching.
It's funny you say that, because when I got this opportunity to come to Baltusrol, my oldest son was about to enter his senior year of high school. My middle son was about to enter his 8th grade year of high school, and my youngest son was about to enter the 1st grade. So obviously that was something that I had to weigh, of uprooting my family from what they knew. But the biggest hurdle and obstacle that I had to weigh, and I had coached youth football for 6 years, leading up to through the fall.
Right.
And believe it or not, when they asked me to do both jobs at Scranton back in 2015, 2016, I said, look, I got one problem. I said, I coach football 4 days a week from 6 to 8.
Right.
Monday through Thursday, I'm there.
Right.
And it's just a passion. I loved it. I still love it. All my kids played, football, lacrosse. My youngest plays football, lacrosse, and wrestles. Sports is a very big part of our life. I live in the fall for Ohio State football.
Of course.
And it's a great year. My middle son's will be taking him to Columbus next month.
Oh, excellent.
He's moving into the dorm. So, the coaching aspect, it's definitely a bug of mine that I have. I don't know if I would do it full time, but it's definitely something that I gave up, and I don't regret it, but I do miss it.
Well, I mean, let's face it. You're still coaching. You're coaching every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not much. I mean, it's not a youth sport, obviously, but being the director of grounds, you're still coach. You're the head coach.
Absolutely.
So
and the beauty is, I have a great defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator.
Exactly.
And I have a great team. And
yeah.
we kind of we've got a great management team, and we kind of lead as a college football coach. I mean, that's kind of the things that we do. We talk about teamwork. We talk about taking
culture.
pride in culture.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Everyone's not on board with this.
Sure.
And Baltusrol is not for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's it's not for everybody because there are very high expectations.
Correct.
Like I opened up the program. This is a place is one of 4, right? And it's and it's the only one that's a dual property, right? I mean, I know Tillinghast did Bethpage, and had Bethpage and other places, but this is a dual. His first dual property. There is a distinct sense of history here, and the members know it, and it exudes it here. Like there's, it's important to them.
Absolutely.
And you meet every member I've ever met and talked to and hung out with and spoke with and played with, that you can tell it's important to them. And so that's the expectation.
The culture here is very important.
Yeah.
Not just ours,
Yeah.
but the membership culture
100%.
inside the. We discuss, during the project many times. I said, do we realize, we're out here 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day during the projects, and for the last 2 months last year, I don't think it rained an ounce. It was long hours.
Yeah.
It really grinded on a lot of people, but look at the historical significance that we had.
Yeah.
Just restoring, this property back to A.W. Tillinghast, and not very many people can say they've done something like that.
Yeah.
Even once. We got to do it twice.
Well, yeah, right.
But it's taken its toll on people.
Sure.
And guys who have gotten through it, and people, my staff that went through it, they've now moved on to bigger and better things, and
Sure.
and I've got a great team now in place that will be very soon on to bigger and better things, and that's the beauty is just when you get them where you want them, they leave.
They leave. Well,
So-
but like all teachers and coaches, that's what you want,
Absolutely.
right? You got people that you are training who want to be the next you and be the next Greg Boring,
Yes.
and so that's understandable. That's what you want, though. I mean, unfortunately, that's the curse that goes along with it. But it's still you're doing things the right way, and people want to be with you because they want to be you.
Well, and look, they don't always like me during the process,
Well-
but when it's all said and done and it's over.
Do we all love our high school football coach?
No, absolutely
Do we
not.
not?
But when you look back at it now and say, wow, really,
100%. You see what you learned.
He really helped me get to where I needed to be, and it's not always easy, but we'll get it there.
Well, thank you for helping me getting where I needed to be, which was to interview and talk about this awesome property and historical property, and getting to get a look behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes on. Presentation is only maybe 20% of what you see.
Absolutely.
The rest is what you do. And so that it's really awesome to talk to you about it, and I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
All
Thanks
right.
thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. All right, folks, that's it from Baltusrol, where nothing is ever boring, and pleased to be joined by Greg Boring, the Director of Grounds at historic Baltusrol Golf Club.